My name is Will Taylor. I'm a full-time ESL teacher here in Russellville, Arkansas at Arkansas Tech. I was born and raised here in Russellville, but I've only been teaching at Tech for probably a year and a half now. Before then, I was teaching in Conway, Arkansas, and in Kansas City and outside of Kansas City. I've been doing this job here for just a year and a half, but I've been teaching ESL to international students for probably 8 or 9 years now. So I love it. It's what I like to do. Sometimes people ask me if I would rather teach American students, and it's like, no, I mean, my family is American, all my friends are American, and I like to travel the world, but that's expensive, so I make the world come to me. A few years ago, I was in a different school from now than I am here. It wasn't here. And I had 2 bosses at the time. And at one point, I had asked for something from the bosses. And one of the bosses gave it to me. It was a document that we had used in the department for something. And then after that, the other boss said no. Well, then I was kind of in a weird situation, because then I had something that I guess I wasn't supposed to have, and the boss who had given it to me just kind of said, keep quiet about it. So I wasn't going to advertise that I had this document, but when the other boss who had said no asked me about it, I wasn't going to lie to my boss. I wasn't comfortable with that. So I said, yeah, she gave it to me. And she said, oh, really? Well, I found out at that point that the boss who'd given it to me had told the other boss that she had not given it to me. And so that put me in a really strange situation where one of my bosses had lied to the other boss. And it wasn't a situation where one of the bosses were more important. They were completely equal in power. And so it put me in a really awkward situation. Well, when the boss who said, oh really, she gave it to you, said that, she asked me a couple of other things, and I wasn't trying to get anybody in trouble, but I wasn't going to lie either. So as soon as that meeting was over, I immediately sent a message to the other boss and said, I want to give you the heads up. I may have thrown you under the bus, but it was unintentional, and I explained to her. She asked me straight up if you had given that to me, or if I had that, and I said yes. And she said, did the other boss give it to you? And I said, yes. And she said, okay. And so I just wanted to let the boss who gave it to me know. She was upset, but she understood that I wasn't going to lie. And so at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to get in trouble, if we were going to have a big meeting. I actually had sent a message to my wife, and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here today, because it's really awkward. So I kind of waited for another day or two and actually never heard anything. And what I told my wife was, I hope they can see that this isn't really about me. This is about their communication issues with each other. And I guess that's what happened, because I never really got in trouble. They never said anything else about it to me. And of course, they were equal, but they shared power. So they had to deal, I'm sure they had to deal with conflicts all the time, because anytime you have 2 leaders, they have to balance that power and those responsibilities. So it was a relief for me, because I thought it was going to be like a very intense situation, and it was for a little bit, but I never really had to answer for anything. So I was relieved that I never lied about anything. As far as I know, I was there for probably another year after that, and everything was fine. So I guess they just finally resolved. I could speculate that they probably figured out, okay, before we answer any of those questions, we need to make sure we have talked before we give answers to our employees. And I was willing to not volunteer information if it didn't need to be given. I don't want to say hide, but I'm not going to give extra information to get somebody in trouble. But I wouldn't change anything different in that I told the truth to the one boss. I wasn't gonna outright lie to somebody's face, because that's never going to end up well.